Oh, buddy.
We went for a walk and at work, like I had an itch in my beard, so I scratched it. Freaking tick.
What is it with you?
I don't know. There's been
Stop going outside.
Well, I figured there wouldn't be very many.
It keeps trying to kill you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so now I got a bump that itches. I killed it though, Richard. Cut its head off.
I mean, hopefully it didn't infect you again.
I'm cold.
I knew it.
So cold, Richard. Oh, look, a bright light.
Now what?
What happened to me?
I'm trying to make art here. Hot mic.
Don't you have a sink in that house? That's where I always pee.
Yeah, don't we? We have a sink.
You're conserving water when you do that.
You can wash the sink.
Yeah, you use less water.
Use less water.
It's sterile, so it probably cleans stuff out. Just don't poop in it. That's tough to...
Don't poop in the sink.
I don't want to.
Okay.
You only do that like 3 times.
No twosies. No twosies in the sink. If we have a band, that's what I'm gonna name our 4th album. No twosies in the sink.
I like it. That's a good name. And in the sink, you have a picture of a sink with $2 bills in it.
$2 bill, y'all.
Ladies and gentlemen, presenting the nerdiest competition ever created by the Language of Bromance team. In this corner, obsessed with Star Wars and anything with swords, Richard! And in this corner, obsessed with the Ninja Turtles and scared of anything from the ocean, Shawn! In association with the LOB Army. Tonight's competition is a Language of Bromance Draft.
What's up, everybody? I'm Richard.
And I'm Shawn.
And we are speaking the language of bromance. And Shawn, I don't know what that was.
I was trying to go with, because usually whenever we do draft episodes, Richard, which this is a draft episode, we're not friends anymore. We're foes. We're not bros. We're foes. And then I tried to mix in a little bit like heavy metal, like growl. Because, Richard, what I wanted to do today, because we haven't really done anything like this. We've drafted some of these things like in other drafts, but not like a full draft. And I want it to be of our favorite bands and musicians, Richard. So
okay. I'm gonna tell you this. I did not prepare a list for this one, and the reason I didn't is because I feel like when people ask me about music, like my tastes are so all over the place. And if somebody asks you, like, name your favorite bands, I don't know. I could tell you what I like right now.
Yeah, that's true.
So I guess I didn't make a list intentionally because I wanted to have it. I felt like it would be more genuine if it came off the cuff. So what I do have is Spotify in front of me, so that way I can
like a reference.
Yeah, exactly. I can just because I have a giant list of liked songs. I don't even know how big this list is, Shawn. Shawn, my liked songs is oh God, tell me. It's well over 1,000 on my liked songs list.
Yeah, I'll be interested in this draft because I think you'll have a few more kind of known picks compared to me. Because a lot of the stuff I like is not very, like, I wouldn't say popular in terms of like pop, but just not as well known.
Okay.
So I'm really excited to kind of see where these kind of come out at. But what this is, Richard, so it's our 60th time doing a draft. We're at number 60. And what our drafts are, if you don't know, they're NFL style where we flip-flop picks back and forth. Whoever has the first pick in the first round gets the first pick in the second round. Back in the day, we flipped a penny to see who goes first, and I won. So on odd drafts, I get the first pick. Even drafts, Richard, you get the first pick. And since this is an even draft, you get the first pick. So these are bands, musicians, anything that you would, I wouldn't say this is like the only 7 things you ever get to listen to again, but kind of like my approach has been, these are like, even depending on my mood, these would be the bands that I would gravitate towards too if I'm just kind of looking for something. Like if you tied me down and said your 7 favorite bands, this would probably come from this group of 7. So,
okay. I mean, I would say that my list is probably a bit more like in the moment, but I mean, I'm obviously there's some tried and true favorites. I know I have. I mean, there are bands and artists that I have on here that are definitely near and dear to the old heart.
Yeah, and I guess
I gotta say this one.
I guess the other way I say this, like, this isn't a winner or a loser draft. This is just kind of more of a here is your yum.
Right. Well, yeah, and also like I'm not terribly worried about like you stealing picks of mine. Like, this isn't something where I'm like, I gotta say this one because I gotta say it before he says it. So anyway. So for my first pick, again, actually, this is a band you probably have heard of because they did a song with somebody that I'm almost sure is on your list.
Sugar Ray.
Yeah, that's right. It's Sugar Ray. I just want to fly, Shawn.
Yeah, every morning.
Honestly, this is like just on the first screen. Like, I just scanned down. I was like, "Yep, I should talk about these guys." So, Shawn, I'm a fan. Yeah, I gravitate towards more rock. I would say you do too.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But lately I'd say like within the past, year, maybe 2 years, I've liked bands that have kind of taken and done something different with like taking a genre and kind of turned it on its side a little bit. So, Shawn, for this band, this is a band that combines more of the harder rock with something that you would never, ever, ever guess would sound like a cool style of music to listen to. Shawn, this is a band that combines rock with Mongolian throat singing. Shawn, for my first pick, I'm going with The Who.
Not WHO.
No.
But HU.
Yeah. Is it The Who? Is it The Huh? You don't know.
Don't know.
I don't know. Who cares?
Yeah, so I was exposed to these guys via one of my favorite bands because they did a cover. They had not a cover, but they brought on Jacoby Shaddix to sing with them, and it's definitely like you don't know the words because they, like you said, they sing in like a Mongolian style. But
it's Mongolian throat singing.
Yeah, but it's really, really cool.
Which I guess the best way to describe it would be like if you heard a didgeridoo, and then tried to mimic it with your voice, if you heard a didgeridoo and tried to mimic the sound of a didgeridoo with your voice, that would be what this sounds like. But I'll tell you what, you throw a good drum beat with it, and like I said, it sounds like rock music, but I would say that the guitar is minimal.
Yeah,
you hear a lot more violin. I mean, it's still stringed instruments, but it's more like violins and.
Yeah, I think it's like traditional Mongolian instruments too, because I don't think it's a violin.
Yeah, I don't think so too. I mean, probably more like a fiddle or something. This actually introduced me to another band called Heilung, which is a. Huh?
It's a Gesundheit.
Yeah. No, it's HEILUNG. I think is how it is. But they are a band of Viking druids.
Oh, nice.
And all their songs are sung are actual like Viking prayers.
Oh, that's
and
pretty cool.
It's just set to like really like crazy beats, and it sounds amazing.
Yeah, I always like kind of these like the Who and they're not really like, I guess, in the same two bands like you would say, but Apocalyptica, like a band that takes something like, because they're basically like, you know, traditional string instruments like cello and stuff like that.
Yeah,
but then they put a rock kind of sound to it, and they bring somebody in. Because I really that shows, I think, kind of like the musical talent of some of these artists. Like, you're not stuck to like the traditional, all right, well, you got your 12 CD album and it's got to sound like this. It's kind of more of like, here's my experiment with this one song to see what can happen. And I always get a kick out of seeing that, just because it's different and it's got just kind of a cool take on like traditional stuff too.
Yeah. They also did a song with Lizzie Hale from Hailstorm.
I've heard that one too. Yeah, that one's not too bad.
It's really good. Really, really good. But yeah, there you go. There's first pick. It's the Who, but not the Who. It's the Who.
Who?
Exactly. Who.
But so, Richard, I guess since we've already introduced the lead singer from my favorite band, it's got to be my number one pick. So,
okay.
Back when 14-year-old Shawn was just graduating 8th grade, he was getting out of his country music phase. And I remember sitting at home back in the day on MTV2 when MTV was starting to stop playing music videos, but MTV2, all they played was music videos. And they used to have, basically it was like a certified fresh or like fresh new artist or something like that. And they'd have a little like video thing that pop up that says like fresh artist. And this band popped up, and I remember very clearly I was homesick. I'm sitting there all bundled up watching my music videos, and this song popped up and my ears perk. I'm like, this is my jam. And I discovered my musical self at that moment, Richard. And it's the band Papa Roach.
I mean, I feel like you've expressed your love for Papa Roach periodically throughout the length and breadth of this show.
Yeah, we did a whole.
I mean, what more can you say?
I know we did a whole episode where I got to sing with the lead singer. We talked about that.
Yeah, exactly.
This is the band I saw for the first time in concert. It was a smaller venue, so that was pretty sweet. But I mean, it's a band that's kind of stood the test of time too, because I think we talked about before. Like, whenever you give a 22, 23-year-old kid a contract and send him out on the road where every night he goes out is somebody's big party, like a lot of times they don't make it. And this band definitely struggled. And the only thing that they've lost, and it's not to anything like death, it's just, he left the band because he was having trouble, was their drummer. So this is basically the original group from when they started in like 93. And I do believe, I have to double check, but I'm pretty sure like they officially started on my birthday.
Oh, nice!
I learned that a few years ago. But
that's cool.
But yeah, they added a new drummer like in the mid 2000s because their current drummer was just having some issues with being on the road. He's good now; he's in really good shape. And lead singer, Jacoby Shattuck, he's run into some stuff, but he's kind of turned over a new leaf, and he's doing really, really well. And it's a band that's, it's still going strong. They're still selling out these huge not really arenas, but like good sized theaters, and put on one hell of a show. Like, if you like rock music and getting pumped in crowds like stadium rock, go see a Papa Roach show because they are just legit. But yeah, like you said, I've said a lot before, so I won't say a ton now, but my first round pick, Richard, I'm going to go with Papa Roach.
Nice.
Viva la cucaracha.
Okay, so next pick for me, I'm going to go with a band that I think is the ultimate band when it comes to making a cover song of another band. But I don't want to say that because they're just a cover band. They are so not just a cover band. Their original catalog is as good. Actually, no, it's better than the songs that they cover, but the covers that they do of songs are fucking amazing. Shawn, I think I have one of their best albums on vinyl. I have them on a constant. I'll listen to at least one of their songs a month, if not more. Shawn, for my next pick, it is the band known as Weezer.
So when Weezer came out, the first song I heard of theirs was Hash Pipe.
I think that was kind of everybody's intro. Yeah.
And me being kind of a I just say square, I guess, but I didn't really like songs about like drinking and drugs and stuff like that. So when that came out, I was like, oh, okay, they're just capitalizing on the whole like drug and drinking, because that was kind of big around that time too.
Yeah.
Not realizing that they'd been around for like 10 years.
Yeah. Yeah. They've been, I feel like it's one of the, I feel like it's definitely a band that just likes to make music.
Oh yeah.
I think that's probably I was talking about like, qualities that I gravitate towards with a band. And one of them is that, they kind of take certain genres and maybe kind of, turn them a little bit. But definitely one quality that I look for with a band that I like. Not just, there's songs by specific people that I like, but when it comes to bands that I like, it's ones that you see a genuine love of guys that just want to make music, and they don't care if it's their music. They don't care if it's somebody else's music. They just want to like hang out and make music. And I love that. And I feel like Weezer is definitely one of those bands. So you got Hash Pipe. Okay. Great, amazing song. Island in the Sun. Another fantastic song. Say It Ain't So. Say It Ain't So is my go-to opening karaoke song. Like if I'm in a new place and I'm just kind of like, hanging out and like I want to sing a song, but I'm not really feeling it yet. You're not really feeling that vibe. Like the vibe to get kind of like crazy and do something crazy. You just kind of want to keep it a little mellow, but you still want to like sing something and open it up. Say It Ain't So. Cause it's, it's nice. It's mellow. There's a couple parts in there that you can really kind of belt it out. But so they put out an entire album of nothing but cover songs. One was, their big one, obviously, off of that was Africa, their cover of Toto's Africa. But like that's one of the few times that I actually added an entire album to my liked list, because, you want to hear Weezer cover Sweet Dreams or Billie Jean or No Scrubs by TLC or, oh my God, Mr. Blue Sky.
Well, they're still around too. Like that's not their Spaghetti Incident style.
Oh, yeah, no, 100%.
Because there's another band
that's still
that did
around.
that.
They still make music, and they see like I said, like they, Rivers seems to genuinely just like making things.
Yeah, I kind of feel like they're the Offspring type thing where they got really big, but not too big, and then they just kind of faded into the background where they have a good following and can do what they want. And
it almost makes you feel like that's by design.
Yeah,
I like it's almost by design that they don't want to. I don't know. It feels stupid to say like, well, they don't want to be popular. Like, no, of course they want. Every band wants to be the biggest fucking band in the world. But I feel like with Weezer, like it feels like when things get like things reach a certain level, and then it's almost like deliberately kind of like, well, let's just hang back for a second.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think like, you make Britney Spears money, then you have a lot of Britney Spears type of concerns and, drama and stress. But if you're a band that can sell out a 500 seat, place, and
every time for the last like what 20 almost 30 years,
because Weezer can probably go to any place they want and sell that out and make good money, but they still get to kind of control their own stuff, which I think is where you want to be. You're absolutely right, because it's like, well, you can sell out MetLife Stadium, but you got to sing these 12 songs. Like, God damn it, I don't want to sing Hash Pipe again. Yeah, exactly.
Everybody like they're like, even Wikipedia says they're a cult, a cult. They achieve cult status, and I'm like, I would say that they're definitely bigger than being like a niche like having a niche cult following.
Yeah, well, that's what I was kind of saying. Like Weezer can go to any place, and somebody's gonna be like, "Oh, I've heard of Weezer. I'll go." So, like to me, a cult following type thing is like, you know, a band has to go to specific places because, you know, they've got pockets of fans.
So they've been around since 1992.
Yeah. The Billy, what was the one song? Buddy Holly. That video was a free video on our first or second computer. It came with it.
I remember the video because they did it like Happy Days.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh my God. And it was kind of cool. Like they basically like, they kind of like Forrest Gump themselves into a Happy Days episode.
Yeah.
So you're like, oh my God, they're playing with the Fonz.
I think I was like 8 or 9 when I saw that too. So I'm like, is this like a video from like the 60s? So it threw me off.
So yeah, there's my second pick. It's the band known as Weezer.
All right. For my second round pick, Richard, this is a band that I try to tell everybody about, but nobody ever seems to pick them up. And I feel like if people did, you would become an instant fan. And it's one of those things that you have to listen to like 3 or 4 songs, and then you just kind of fall into it. So we went to see, and this isn't the band, but I went to a very, very small theater, the same place I saw my first concert for Papa Roach, and it was for Cage the Elephant, was the headliner.
Oh, yeah.
And so I wasn't really planning on going. My cousin and his son really were big Cage the Elephants fans, so they invited me out, so I went. And the second band that was playing, I only heard like 1 or 2 of their songs. And like their big song that they have, it's a song called Many of Horrors. And it's a little bit more of kind of a melodramatic kind of, it's a softer song. So if you listen to it and that's the first song, you're like, oh, that's the kind of band they are. They're kind of, you know, weepy, like, you know, Radiohead.
Yeah.
But you go and the opening band plays and these 3 Scottish guys walk up and you're like, wait,
fucking Radiohead.
Are these the guys who are tuning for the guys? Like, are these the, what do you call the guys that tag along? The roadies. Are these the roadies? All 3 of them shirtless, tatted up, scrawny, and they just kick into that first chord, Richard, and they just melt your face.
Oh my
live.
Goodness.
If these guys tour the United States, I will go wherever. I've been to Chicago to see them, St. Louis, here in town.
Oh, okay.
Actually, was going to go see them when Audio Slave was going to play in St. Louis. The show happened a week after the lead singer of Audio Slave unfortunately had his incident happen. So they canceled the show. But it is the band from Scotland, Richard. They've been around. They've sold out Wimbledon Stadium. It's called Biffy Clyro. 3-piece band. During all the COVID stuff for the first bit, the lead singer would play acoustic live on Facebook like every Thursday at noon.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. Oh, it's like, and like, I mean, it's one of those things like he's like, all right, so I'm gonna play this song, and he'd reach back to a song like, because they've been around since like '96 too. Okay. And so he'd reach back to a song, he just played on the guitar and sing it. Such an amazing voice, such a great catalog of albums. Some of the best album cover art that I've ever seen too. Like they've got some really legit stuff.
Oh, nice.
Well, like I said, live, they just melt your face. Like they kick right into it. The live Wimbledon album, or checking them out live just on YouTube. Such great stuff. But yeah, it's a band. Like if you look up like biggest bands that nobody knows about in Europe, these guys are huge. Like everybody, like whenever we've like just talked to people that know about them, and we're like, oh yeah, we were like in a 300 seat place, and we were like right up front. They're like, what? Like you were. Like, how much those tickets cost? Those had to be like thousands of dollars. Like, oh no, it's like $35.
Oh, nice.
And they're like, how is that freaking possible? But it's just that they're trying to come over and get some of that stuff. They were making a lot more tours here in the States, but with everything that happened, that kind of slowed down. So I'm hoping they get back. But again, give them a check out. It's Biffy Clyro, Scottish band, rock band. I love them to death. If I'm in a like when you're in that mood where like I want to listen to music, but I don't know what I want to listen to, I'll usually by default be like, well, I'll start with Biffy, even though I'm not in a Biffy mood. And by the third song, I'm in a Biffy mood. So absolutely love these bands. Could not suggest giving them a shot more than I probably already said. So my second round pick is a Biffy Clyro.
Very nice. Very nice. All right, Shawn. Number 3 for me. I'm kind of torn between 2. I think I'm going to go with, I think I know what I'm going to go with. This is an artist that I kind of scoffed at when I was a kid. And it wasn't really until probably like my early 20s that I really started listening to him. Cause I think it's mainly because like when you're a kid, you're like, oh, well, like it's too poppy for me. And I think that was the case with a lot of music that I listen to now. Is a lot of music I listen to now is music that I probably would have scoffed at 20 years ago.
Yeah, I've done the same thing.
No, man, I'm a fucking metalhead through and through.
This isn't real rock music. This is emo rock.
Yeah. But this is a group that formed. It formed out of a super group and like, you know, like a group that literally owned almost an entire decade, even though, you know, you only saw what, 2-3 albums, but one of the guys left and started his own thing and has been going strong for another 20 years and is probably going to play for another 20 more. Again, like I talked about with my last pick, I like people that like making music. And this is definitely a guy that loves nothing more than to make music. And I feel that has given back to the community and the world as much as he genuinely feels grateful. He's like the Bill Murray of the music industry. Shawn, I'm going with my next pick. I'm going to go with the Foo Fighters.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah.
Yeah.
I always enjoyed a lot of their music. Foo Fighters, to me, though, I always feel like they have like 3 or 4 like really good songs on their album, but then the other ones always feel skippable to me.
You know what? I used to feel that way a lot. However, they had a docuseries on HBO called Sonic Highways.
Oh, yeah.
Where basically they went to, so the point of the documentary, this is after David already made a documentary called Sound City, which I actually just rewatched like 3 or 4 days ago. The Sound City documentary, if you haven't seen it, it's on Amazon. I think you can watch it free on Amazon with ads. Like there's ads in there, but you can watch it free on Amazon. Cannot recommend that documentary enough, because you had a documentary and then you had he recorded an album out of that documentary. So there's a whole album of music out of that documentary. Anyway, but after that, he did this other docuseries on HBO called Sonic Highways, where he talked about basically, the music of America, like the history of. So what he would do is he would go to a city. The episode would talk about the history, the music history of a given city, like Chicago or New Orleans or Nashville or Austin. And then at the end of the episode, there was a song. They would play a song based on, inspired by the city. And it was a Foo Fighters song. And so then Foo Fighters, released this whole album, called the album Sonic Highways. And I used to think the same thing, Shawn, that like every song, like there's a couple good hits and there's other skippable stuff. But once you look at the lyrics and then understand the history of the lyrics, and you see people, like he has, a bunch of different guests come on, like to jump in for his songs. Like I think he has Zach Brown from the Zach Brown Band for the Nashville episode.
Yeah, I think he's got Corey Taylor in one of them too, doesn't he? Or is that
that's on the Sound City one. He's got Corey Taylor. Chris Cornell is on there for the Seattle episode, the one they do in Seattle. Glenn Frey from the Eagles for Los Angeles. I mean, but when you get to the end of the episode and it culminates in this song, even if it feels like, even a song that I would feel like, oh, this is a skippable song if you're just playing it on a record or a CD or whatever. Once you know what it went into making it and how, like, once you see like the kind of the creative process behind how that song got made, it makes you appreciate every single song on that album.
Yeah, I feel like any music, though, if you could have that opportunity, you'd appreciate it even more.
Yes,
because I think you're talking about
that's exactly how it made me feel.
There's that docu-series that you're watching where they break down a whole song and kind of tell you how they came and stuff. Because I mean, when you hear a song, it's 3 minutes of your life, but that's literally like days and weeks of somebody else's, trying to get the right thing out there. Trying to make sure it comes out the way that they intended. Exactly. Yeah. But I do always enjoy the Foo Fighters more recently. Not that this makes me not like them anymore, but it's definitely kind of turned me off a little bit, even though it shouldn't. But it definitely feels like Dave Grohl is very like artsy with his music. Like he comes with it from an extreme, like I consider music art, but there's a big difference to me, like, somebody creating their art and then somebody like trying to deconstruct and reimagine and like kind of almost making like the art kind of a mix between art and science and emotion and kind of like making it a bit different.
You feel like it's too clinical.
Yeah, well, I want to say clinical, but maybe not as raw, I think. So like with me, like with music and the art, like it's a very raw emotion. It's like you put pen to paper and something you get out in like a day is what it is. But
see, this is why I feel like you need to watch Sound City.
I do want to see that. Yeah, you've talked about it before, and not
you definitely need to watch this.
And I appreciate that still because I mean I think there is something of because it's kind of like the difference between like doing a podcast and like making a movie kind of thing, right? Like making a movie takes a lot of work, and that's kind of like a Sound City type song. Like there's a lot of work that goes into it. Whereas like the podcast, the raw emotion is the band has a month in a hotel that's supposedly haunted and they try to write all their music in that month and make the album in the month. So it's very much in the moment. Whereas like with what sounds like Dave Grohl's kind of like stuff now is like, I'm going to take a month to perfect a single song. Not that it might not be that time wise, but
I kind of see what you're saying, but I guess I would argue that I think that a lot of bands are more practiced than you think they are.
No, I think for sure. Especially if they are.
Like you look at like take Nirvana's Nevermind, for example. Again, Dave Grohl on the drums for that. But like the whole point of that album is for it to feel raw and kind of like untethered. Like you can hear like, Kurt's straining vocals on that album. But like they went and they practiced every single song. They practiced for like 6 hours a day, 6 days a week for 2 months before they even recorded anything.
Mm-hmm.
They practiced, almost 40 hours a week for 2 months before they recorded that. I mean, so I totally get what you're saying. Like I think that you get the impression that it feels more structured, but I would say that I would argue the inverse. I would say that things that feel raw might not necessarily be as raw as you think, and things that are structured might not be as structured as you think.
Yeah, well, I think when like a lot of the bands that I kind of follow, Biffy I think is definitely the exception to that because they're more of they're under a big label, so I think there's a lot more of that kind of push. Whereas a lot of the bands that I listen to now they were like on a contract earlier in their career, but it didn't work out right for them, so now they're kind of doing stuff more on their own. And so, yeah, I know they're practicing. I know they're like doing a lot of this work to get stuff perfected in their art, but it's still more of just kind of, we're going to do this thing in 3 months and here's our goal.
Yeah.
Whereas I think like with like the Sound City one, like I think if it's sit back, like there's never like a good enough moment, I feel like, with the Foo Fighter type stuff. Like it's more of a, we're going to keep going until we perfect it. And sometimes I feel with like art, there's a little bit of that like punk feel where it's like, this is good enough. This is what we're going to release.
Yeah. You got to watch that documentary. At this point, I would respectfully not disagree, but I would respectfully say watch the documentary because it's a bit more it's a bit more punk than you think.
It could be.
And also like when I was talking about him being the Bill Murray of the internet, like Dave Grohl, like Bill Murray loves being Bill Murray and we love him for being Bill Murray. Dave Grohl loves being Dave Grohl and we love him for being Dave Grohl.
Yeah. I love seeing when he brings people on stage.
Oh my God.
And I love like,
it's so good.
Everybody's always like, well, what if they're not any good? And he's like, listen, nobody's going to get on stage at a Foo Fighters concert that can't do something.
Yeah.
Like nobody's going to embarrass themselves.
You think that somebody that's holding up a sign like, I want to play on stage with you. Do you think that guy is going to fuck up?
Yeah. He's going to know what he's doing. He or she's going to know what they're doing.
Yes. So yeah, I totally forgot what number we're even on. But yeah, there's my pick. It's number 3. It's Foo Fighters.
So for my number 3, this is a band, I think when I consider bands I've seen live, I've seen them the most.
Okay.
I've probably seen them at least 10 to
Limp Bizkit.
It's they kind of jumped on the scenes like in the 2003, I think. And I love, like, as I've kind of learned about them more and more, so they were signed to a big contract, or not a big contract, but they were signed to like a regular contract. And this is the band that kind of taught me that with each new album, when you're under a studio deal, the studio kind of dictates the kind of album that they want. Like they'll tell them, hey, we want this type of song, and this type of song. Yeah. And
all Christmas music.
Yeah, and it's like, but it's July. It's like Christmas music.
No, that's when everybody records Christmas. Everybody records the Christmas albums in July.
Yeah, but nobody's in a Christmas mood in July. So they kind of subtly named their albums, like one's Feeding the Wolf. One's what was the other? There's a couple other ones, but they're basically kind of titled as like slight jabs toward the studio. The dude that's got his name's Jesse. They're from Knoxville, Tennessee, so kind of a Midwestern area. The lead singer, I think, has one of the most amazing voices. So the band, they sang their big hit was a song from 2003 called Wasteland, and it's the band 10 years.
Okay.
So they've constantly been putting out new albums about every 3 years, so they've stuck around for a while. I love seeing them live because, again, they put on a great show, and their lead singer is kind of eccentric because there's times where he's shown up like in a wedding dress type thing or just in like weird outfits. They do their so I got pretty close with a band from St. Louis that opened for them, and they talked about how they did their sound checks, and like they would come off their tour bus in like robes, like bathrobes, and do their stuff. But there's 2 cool things that I remember from shows that I got to see them at. One was he brought out a Justin Bieber cardboard cutout, and there's no band on stage, so the lead singer just starts singing, and it's like one of the most like beautiful sounding things coming out of his mouth, right? And he holds it. It's like, all right, Justin, it's your turn. And he's like, oh yeah, that's right. You can't do this without auto-tune. Oh yeah, they're not Bieber fans. They're not believers.
What a dig.
The other cool thing is like right at the end of one of their songs, they had a blow up pool like toy thing. And so he crowd surfed on that, which was pretty sweet. But they always put on a great show as well. They just had a new album come out that it's kind of cool because one of their other songs at the end they wrote in the studio. And this is kind of where I talked about like music getting kind of quickly pen to paper and the raw emotion of the song, because while they're in the studio his grandpa passed away, and so they basically wrote a song while they're in the studio that made it on the album, kind of about that whole thing, which is kind of cool. But smaller kind of band. They do a lot of the smaller shows, but they sell out in the local areas. And I always feel bad for these guys because they've been going on for like 15 years at this point, even though their band's 10 years. But, these are bands that I think work really, really hard, but they don't get the credit and the notoriety that they deserve, which is good and bad because I think it allows them to kind of keep in their own way instead of kind of maybe going in directions they may not want to. But yeah, for my third round pick, a band I've seen a bunch of times, 10 years.
All right, Shawn. I'm gonna throw you with this pick because you're totally not gonna see this coming.
Jennifer Lopez. Jennifer Lopez.
Close. But this is like I said, I'm scrolling through this list and I realized, oh crap, I do have a lot of his songs on here. Shawn, I don't even know how I can't sum up this guy's career in one sentence. It's too massive. Not only was he an accomplished singer, but also an actor and just an all-round like this is the guy that you wanted to be when you were a kid. Not necessarily when you were a kid, but like if you saw this guy, you're like, I want to be this man. I want to be a fraction of this man. Shawn, for my next pick, I'm going with Old Blue Eyes, Frank Sinatra.
Yeah.
Like I'd see him in movies and I'm like, that dude's so fucking cool. Like he just looks so cool.
Yeah.
Walks around with his hat and he says words like dame.
Yeah.
And you're like, that dude's badass.
Was that 40s or 50s?
Well, like 50s, 60s, 70s.
When did he die?
I mean, he didn't die until the 90s.
Oh, did he make it that far?
Yeah, he didn't. Yeah, it was like 90.
Oh, 98.
Yeah, I was going to say like 97, 98.
Man, he carried on for a long time.
Yeah.
Because who else rocked her? Because they had a little pack, didn't they? Was that the Rat Pack?
The Rat Pack,
yeah.
Shawn. Like George Clooney, I feel like, tries to, he's like, I want to be Frank Sinatra so bad. Like he made Ocean's 11, which was based on the original Ocean's 11, which had Frank Sinatra in it. Like, he was just a cool dude. And then you heard him sing, and that man could sing anything, and it sounds fucking amazing. The most recent thing I could probably, like, you put Frank Sinatra music in a movie, and you're like, yeah. Most recent one I can tell you, Joker. Remember Joker?
Oh, yeah.
They did a Sinatra song in Joker. I think in the ocean. I think he sang. They put Sinatra in all the Ocean's movies, obviously.
Man, those guys.
But yeah, every time you hear a Sinatra song, I like earlier you were talking about like trying to get the raw and trying like feeling the emotion when somebody sings. If you hear Sinatra, like when you hear Sinatra sing like it was a very good year, where he's like, when I was 17.
Mm-hmm.
And like
it's very kind of sing-songy storytelling, which I dig.
And it feels real. Like whether or not like that was his actual life or not, like you're convinced that like, oh my God, like you feel like you're getting like a peek behind. You feel like you're getting a peek behind the curtain. Whether or not that was his actual life, what his actual life was, who the fuck knows, But I'm trying. Let's like, oh God, what else? Oh, One for My Baby and One for the Road. Like you hear that song, and it's so good. Like I said, like you can hear just the way he puts it out. You can, to me, I always feel like one of the points of music is for, to convey a message that you have to an audience about either how you're feeling or what you're thinking. And the thing with Sinatra is like Sinatra did a lot, with Sinatra it was a lot of like big band stuff. So there were songs that he did that were his, but a lot of times there were songs that, you know, had just been around for years. But even if it's a song that wasn't his, like you still get that emotion out of it. Like it feels like any song he sang, it felt like his, whether it was actually his or not. You ever hear his Christmas album? Every single Christmas, I listen to the Christmas album.
We've got a couple of the Christmas songs on our Christmas album. So what got you into Frank Sinatra? Was that just something? It was
100% my dad.
Was it your dad?
100% my father. My father loved Sinatra. The only time I've ever seen him actually intoxicated, which, I mean, he could drink. Like, I've seen him drink, never actually seen him drunk. The day Sinatra died, I actually saw him drunk. The only time I've ever seen him actually intoxicated. Like beyond intoxicated.
Yeah. So he
was the day Sinatra died.
Had a few extra to mourn Sinatra.
Apparently so. Had to have been a bit more than a few extra. But yeah. So there's my pick. Old Blue Eyes himself, the chairman of the board, Mr. Frank Sinatra.
I like it.
My son listens to him, and what 16-year-old listens to Frank Sinatra?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I feel like unless, I mean, you're into it, so that probably helps him kind of gravitate towards it. But
sure.
I feel like if you don't have somebody in it, you kind of do it as almost like I listen to Sinatra. Because like that's
like you sit there with your whiskey sour,
and
your smoking jacket,
like you're at a party and people are talking about music, and you're like, oh well, have you listened to the new Sinatra album? Like,
let me tell you what Old Blue Eyes says at a time like this.
Like, who the fuck is Old Blue Eyes? Are you talking about Fred Durst? Well, Richard, for my fourth round pick, again, this is a band that kind of jumped on the scenes in the early 2000s. So that's kind of a theme of a lot of mine. So like between like 2000 and like 2005, 2006 there's a kind of a resurgence of like rock music. And a lot of these bands I kind of picked from that time frame. And I'm pretty lucky to say that a lot of these bands are still going on, which, I have a couple on here that didn't continue on. But this is a band that the lead singer, I feel, is like he's a regular artist. Like he does a lot of cool, crazy kind of paintings. He's the only original member of the band right now because he basically kind of disbanded because, again, with these bands, like they kind of get a nice little pop, but then when they start going away, some people are like, well, I can't make money doing this anymore, so what do I do? But he's kind of kept it going strong. It's the song that made them big was Bottom of a Bottle.
Sounds familiar.
And the other one they had was Nowhere Kids. And the band is Smile Empty Soul.
Oh, okay.
I've seen them live like 4 or 5 times. They come in town quite a bit here. And it's like super small, intimate show. Because it's like a place that hosts like maybe 100 people, if that. That's like 2/3 full. Like one of those, like you don't have to like stand at the front of the stage. You can usually get up there pretty easy. But it's kind of like a new grunge kind of feel. You could definitely tell they're kind of inspired by like the Nirvanas and stuff like that. But he does a lot of, so basically he kind of self-produces all of his work. So, about every year he'll come out with a acoustic album. About every 2 years they'll come out with a Smile Empty Soul specific album. But I've always really dug it. And it's one of those two that, it's very much kind of, they haven't really grown too much in terms of like changing it up, which is one thing that I do enjoy, like Papa Roach, for example, and Biffy Clyro. 10 Years to an extent, those are bands that like push themselves and try other things. But with Smile Empty Soul, besides either being acoustic or rock, it's usually pretty much the same style. So you're kind of just getting like, if it's a 10 song album that comes out and they come out with another 10 album, it's really, 1 through 20 on the album because it's kind of the same feel. But great show. It got me through a lot of tough times too. And that's kind of the other reason I gravitate towards some of these bands because, when you go through teenage drama or teenage, emotions, these bands kind of help speak to you. And this is one that definitely did that. And it's the band Smile Empty Soul for my 4th round pick.
Nice. Very nice. I haven't listened to a lot of them. I guess maybe I should.
Yeah, it's some pretty good stuff.
I feel like I should.
I dig them.
All right. Number 5 pick. I feel like if I mention Frank Sinatra, I feel like I need to mention I feel like I need to mention this lady because this lady is also somebody. Okay, so this girl is somebody that I would listen to. This is someone that I would listen to when I was like home by myself and like my friends weren't around because I didn't want my friends to know that I liked listening. But then, you get out of high school and then you get in your 20s and then you're like, wait a minute, who the fuck cares? Like, who cares? You like what you like.
Yeah, 25, I think, is about the time I finally got to that point.
Yeah, that you kind of come to that conclusion. Like, I don't answer to, wait a minute, I don't answer to anybody, especially when it comes to my musical taste.
Yeah, and they're going to call me some kind of inappropriate name, so what does it matter?
Shawn, this is one of the first female artists that I just fell in love with on every single level. She's still cool, still going strong, still sexy as all fucking get out. Shawn, this is the first woman that made me realize I liked women. And I'm not kidding. Like, I was 13 and my first like boy girl thing was with seeing the cover of an album with this woman on it. 13.
Shawn, you were a late bloomer.
For my next pick, I'm going to go with the witch herself, Miss Stevie Nicks.
Mm-hmm. She was the one that, because they talk about like being Stevie Nicks cool, but you'll never break up with your boyfriend and make him play in your band cool.
She didn't just, no, see, that's the thing is she didn't just break up with her boyfriend. She slept with Mick, who was the drummer in the band, then broke up with the guitarist, and they still stayed together because they're Fleetwood fucking Mac.
Yeah. Tusk. That's such a good song.
Tusk is so good. Fucking, I mean, oh my God. Just Fleetwood Mac alone, like so many hits off of Fleetwood Mac. You've got, The Chain, which, I mean, how many covers have you heard of Fleetwood Mac's The Chain at this point in your life? Yeah. Like, I've heard Evanescence cover it. I've heard like 4 different bands cover The Chain by Fleetwood Mac. Dreams, another one. Gold Dust Woman. Oh, so many good songs. And that's just off one fucking album. Their first album, like, went umpteen, like 80, sold 80 gajillion million copies. That's a real number. I didn't know that number existed.
Was that mid 70s when that came out?
Yeah. Mid late 70s. So Fleetwood Mac, obviously huge fucking career, Fleetwood Mac, right? Then she leaves Fleetwood Mac and has an amazing fucking solo career. She records songs with, she has a song where she does nothing but duets, where it's like her and Tom Petty and her and Don Henley. And like, I think Prince helped her work on an album at one point. Like her and Prince were writing music together.
I forgot about, you didn't mention this, but Landslide. That's one of my favorite songs.
Oh, Landslide. Oh, so good. And then you hear some singers, as time goes on, like it does, obviously you're like, well, they don't sound the same. They don't sound, obviously, like, somebody that's been singing professionally since 1970 is not going to sound the same way they did in 1970. Nope, she does it.
Yeah.
I don't know how the fuck she does it. You know why? Because she's a witch, Shawn. It's witchcraft.
It's got to be.
It's fucking witchcraft.
Yeah.
Because not only can she still sing like the 70s, but she's still just as fucking hot as she was in the 70s.
Yeah.
How the fuck does that happen?
How old is she? She's probably be like mid 60s.
Oh, I'm gonna say
72.
Yep. Still 100%. I would marry that woman. I would request a hall pass to this day for Stevie Nicks. I think I have her whitelisted on my hall pass list. And so she shall remain, because Stevie Nicks is fucking amazing. Rooms on Fire was a good solo song. Oh my God, so much music. So much good music. Edge of 17. Edge of 17. That was one of her. That I'm trying to go with songs she did solo, like her solo, from her solo career. Rooms on Fire. Edge 17. Oh, so good. Stand Back. Yeah. Talk to Me. Oh my! See, I could go on. I could do this forever, Shawn. We need to stop. My next pick, the one, the only, the love of my life, Miss Stevie Nicks.
I like it. So for my 5th round pick, I'm going to go back, and this will be, most of my bands have been, bands that are fairly new in terms of what I consider new being post 2000, but I want to go with a band that they were no longer really around when I started getting into them. My cousin was a huge fan of these guys.
Okay.
Had either, I don't know if he had tickets or was going to go, but the very, very last show that these guys played in Kansas City, either he couldn't make it or he decided not to go or something. So had a chance to see their very last show ever and didn't go with the original band. We saw them with the new lead singer about 6 or 7 years ago. But Richard, it's a band that, like I said, my cousin introduced me to, and I had to check it out because he liked it. He knows music. It's the 90s grunge band, Richard, from Seattle, Alice in Chains. Jar of Flies. You talk about being a
Dirt.
Oh yeah, Dirt's great.
Dirt is. I feel like if you want to sum up, like, hey, what was it like being a 14-year-old kid in the 90s? You just play the entirety of the album Dirt, and you're like, it was like that.
Yeah,
that's how it was.
Going through my melodramatic phase, like post high school. Jar of Flies was played in my car all the time.
Oh yeah,
and if you want to feel horrible about yourself and be like, maybe this world isn't what I want, you put that in, and it pushes you to the edge for sure. But it's a great band. They've got one of the best MTV Unplugs. I think Nirvana and theirs is like side by side.
Yeah. I always Jerry wrote on his guitar during that Unplugged session. He said, "Friends don't let friends get haircuts." They wrote on his guitar during that Unplugged. Oh my God. Yeah, I would say if you would have asked 16-year-old Richard, like, what's one of your favorite bands? Alice in Chains would have definitely been probably number 2 on that list.
Yeah, and it's really, it's kind of like when you look at the rock star life too, like Lane Staley, like, dude was super talented. And you hear stories about kind of his last, I don't know, I'm guessing it's probably last year or so. Mm-hmm. So sad. It's like, I think that, wasn't it Cantrell went to see him and couldn't even stand to be around him because of where he was, or
I could see it.
Or when he finally saw how bad he was, he didn't realize there's just that kind of because I think a lot of times too, a lot of people think oh my God, they're a band together, so they're probably best friends, and
they hang out all the time, and they're just they're not necessarily best buds. They're not together 24/7.
The best bands are the ones that kind of treat it like a job, and it's all right, well, we'll come back when we're getting ready to tour and when we're going to do this album, because you're with them every single day. But the cool story I have, so we went and saw them with the new lead singer, which is his name William Duvall? Is that his name? Yeah, William Duvall.
Okay.
He's 53. I didn't realize he was that old. But we went to see them at a concert, and as we're leaving, my cousin, who was a big Alice in Chains fan, he's like, oh my God, that was, it's not what it would have been seeing it, in the mid 90s, late 90s, but it was definitely worth it. And I was like, and it's really tough to tell. that doesn't sound like the original lead singer. And my wife walking out, she's like, wait, that's not the original lead singer? It's no, because he's gone. But even though some of their newer stuff, I can kind of get into it. It's I couldn't sing one of the songs.
What was the last album I can think of?
Dinosaurs.
When Dinosaurs Were Here?
It's Dinosaurs
when Dinosaurs Were Here, or I think was the name of it or something. But it was, I remember I was like, oh, Alice in Chains is putting out a new album. And I'm like, I don't know, man. Like, I don't know.
And it's different.
And then you heard it. I like you like 3 seconds into hearing them, like into hearing that Alice in Chains. I'm trying to think of the song that stuck, Voices. That was the song that stuck in my head off of that When Dinosaurs Were Here, I think is the name of it.
Yeah, it's so they came out with Black Gives Way to Blue in 2009, and then The Devil Put Dinosaurs Here, which I think is an awesome title.
That's it. Yeah, the song on their Voices, like 3 seconds into it, you're like, I don't know if I'm going to like this. Like, I'm probably going to hate it. Like, you listen to it with every intention of fucking hating it. And then, like, you're listening to it, and then somebody walks up. I remember, like, I was listening to it, and my wife walked up to me when I listened to it, like, fully expecting me to go on this fucking tirade about it, you know? And she's like, so what do you think? And I'm like, it's really fucking good.
But yeah, you go see them live, and it's a pretty good show too. They're not a super like interactive band, but it's a good show and like good music. And what really kind of brought this back to light is when we were out a couple weeks ago, somebody put Jar of Flies on at a bar, which is a horrible place to put a Jar of Flies on. But you hear it and you're instantly like,
was it No Excuses?
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
But you hear it and you're just like, oh, I need to get back in to listen to them. But yeah, my 5th round pick, one of my favorite bands, Alice in Chains.
Very, very good. Ooh, see, you know, like I'm scrolling through my stuff, and like like now I'm like, oh God, like now I wish I had 18 picks, but I've only got 2 left, and I'm positive I know what I want my last one to be. So for my next one, I'm going to go with an artist that I really started getting into in my 20s. And then, I saw a live show and I realized that I need to, I like seeing it live is a 100% different experience than hearing a recorded album. And even though like it's different, it's an experience, and I really don't know how else to put it, Shawn. My next pick it's Prince.
Yeah,
I mean, say what you like was Prince a little weird?
Oh, yes. Very much so. Yeah,
100%. But like, that's the guy. Like, not. Prince is one of those people that is I feel like the gods conspire to put certain people on earth to do specific things. You know, like everybody has the potential to do something great. In anything. Everybody has the potential for greatness in almost anything. But I feel like some people are granted specific skills, talents, and abilities to do one thing. And for me, I feel like Prince was literally placed, created, conspired, and conceptualized by the gods to make music.
Yeah.
That's what he was put on earth to do.
If Prince was born in any time frame, he was going to be creating music.
Yes, if Prince was born in the 1300s, he was going to make music.
Yeah, that's what he was going to do. You know, if
no matter what.
He would be creating orchestras if he was born during the Beethoven times. Like, that's just what he would do.
Exactly. But luckily, he was born in the 1900s, so that way he could record albums and make Purple Rain.
Yeah, and like this, the only time I've really seen him live was the year he did the Super Bowl. And one of the best Super Bowl halftime shows of all time.
It was hands down the best.
It was pretty awesome.
It was the best halftime show that anyone has ever seen in the history of anything. Shawn, he played Purple Rain, and it was raining.
Yeah, like you said, the gods, it's like, oh my God, here it comes. Cue the rain.
Yeah. It's like, well, I mean, he went through all the effort to make it. Like, the least we could do was help him.
And some dude's like, well, didn't Bush have that happen when they sang Glycerine? It's like, shut up. Get out of here.
Fuck you. You know what Bush is? Not Prince.
It's true. Thanks for being out here singing Glycerine in the rain.
One of the an amazing fucking guitar player.
Mm-hmm.
He knew how to play. Learned to play piano when he was 7.
Yeah,
he knew how to play 13 different instruments.
Was that pretty much all self-taught too? Do you know?
Yeah.
Which that's where you kind of
again, like I said, he was created to make music.
Yeah.
That's what his purpose was.
There's some kind of some kind of gene or some kind of magical fruit or something that, it's like, oh, I'm going to pick this up and start playing it. It's like, well, how do you know how to play that? It's like, yeah, just do.
I don't know, but check it out.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
I didn't know a didgeridoo could do that. Yeah, Prince is something there's a lot of bands, that they're kind of older or their time is being popular in terms of Frank Sinatra is popular now, but it's not he's here popular. Prince the same way. And I almost feel because there's such a huge catalog that there's a lot of work into going in and trying to familiarize yourself with that stuff. You can go and
you feel it's too deep. It's almost too deep a bench that you don't want to dive in.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see that. I could see that.
Because how many songs does Prince have out? 1,000? 500?
I couldn't even fathom how much music he's made.
Yeah, and so then it's well, just listen to his popular ones. It's well, now I kind of feel like a poser. It's oh, I love Purple Rain. Well, what about Depths of the Seven Satanic? I'm I didn't know that was a song.
Yeah.
It's not, you fucking poser.
Punch.
I just want to like music.
I don't know what else to say about Prince. Purple Rain was the only thing that I think outsold Purple Rain was Thriller.
Oh, yeah.
It's the second most sold album in history. Oh my God. So much music. And we're just talking about his early stuff. And then he made more music in the 90s.
Well, and then in his vault in his house, how much crap's there? Because this is a dude that had recording studios, recording equipment in his bathroom.
Yeah. Well, and not just that. Well, and again, okay. And to go beyond that, then there's all the music that he wrote for other people.
Oh, yeah. Good point.
Madonna's Erotica album, I think Prince worked on a lot of that. He worked with Stevie Nicks in the 80s. There's so much music, he just, again, it's a guy that loved making music and, lucky for us, he had recording equipment around.
Yeah.
And so he just sat and made music a lot.
Wakes up in the middle of the night. It's I'm going to record a song.
Yep.
That's the kind of dude too.
And then we get Sign of the Times.
Yeah, his raw, that was probably 3 takes, and he gets those things.
And then he plays Charlie Murphy in basketball and kicks his ass.
Game. Bitches.
Blouses.
Love it.
Oh yeah, there's my pick. It's the purple one, Prince. So good. If you ever get a chance, I've heard him do a slowed down version of Let's Go Crazy where it's got more of a funk and a groove to it. Really, really good.
Well, for my 6th round pick, it's not as exciting as Prince, but it is definitely a band that, so I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly, I saw them play with Breaking Benjamin. And I've told my wife this. I've had, you talked about having a huge crush on Stevie Nicks.
Yeah.
The lead singer of Flyleaf. Well, I guess I just kind of spoiled my pick. The lead singer of this band, former lead singer, I had a huge crush on. And they're kind of in that POD type of thing where they're a Christian band, but they're not really a Christian band, if that makes sense.
Uh-huh.
And I told Tiffany when I first met her, when I saw this band in concert, I swore that the lead singer, Lancey Sturm, sang to me the whole time. We made eye contact. It was emotional. I wept.
And she looked at me weird. And
yeah.
It was it's we're one.
And then I tried to get backstage. I'm no, we had a moment. But it's Flyleaf. It's a good rock band. it's kind of heavy. It's got that, like, she's got a really good kind of scream voice. Like, she's on her own right now. Like, she left the band a few years back, and she's got a few great songs out on her own. She just released one not too long ago called, let me look it up because it is really good. But she's got like, it's got that more kind of good, like, it's not like an Evanescence. Like, I'm not a big Evanescence fan.
You know what? I'm not really either. They did a cover of The Chain by Fleetwood Mac. Not that great.
Let's see. Why can't you show me?
Not gonna lie, wasn't that great. They put it in the soundtrack for the Gears of War 5. No, I'm gonna say no. I say no.
I think her newest one's called The Decree, and it's pretty good. She does a lot of kind of like a lot of her independent release. Like, she tries to get a lot of I don't know what you call it, like notoriety, or like she tries to bring up like sex trafficking and stuff like that. Like, she's a big advocate against all that stuff.
Oh, okay.
So she has a lot of that in her kinds of music. But speaking of Breaking Benjamin, their song "Dear Agony," she did a cover with them on that, and it's really freaking good.
Give it a shot.
One of the first times I saw them too was on TV, and they did a cover of "Smells Like Teen Spirit," which wasn't great, but was okay for what it was.
Yeah.
But yeah, what I'd go for my 6th round pick, it's a band that I wish I would have got to see before she left. I got to see him once, but could see him again. But it's Flyleaf.
Okay. We're at the end.
It's last pick.
There's so many bands I want to mention now that we're here at the end, but here we are. And there's somebody that I have to mention because when I was 16, earlier than that, 14. I was 14. There was, like when you're a kid, when you're a kid, you listen to music and you listen to all kinds of music. And then I feel like it happens with everybody, but once you hit like that 13, 14 age, all of a sudden, like, you listen to one, band or song, and it's like a paradigm shift in your brain, and it causes you to be like, well, I got to listen to everything that this person has ever done in the history of ever because I love it so much. And this was the guy that I did it with. Saw him in concert twice, had an amazing time both times. First, like, big concert I ever went to. He put an album out like this year, so he's still making music. I don't know how the fuck he's doing it. I don't understand why this guy isn't dead yet. Shawn, I'm talking about the Prince of Darkness, Ozzy Osbourne.
Yep, I knew it was coming.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting, like you talked about, like when you turn 13 or 14. I mean, Ozzy, when you were 13 or 14, like, he'd been around for a minute.
He had already been around for like 20, 30 years at that point.
So like you
got the entire Black Sabbath catalog.
Yeah, so your deep dive took you some time. Like Papa Roach, the same thing happened to me. Like when I saw their first album, I'm like, what else is there? And like, there's nothing. But when you dug, like you saw like, Napster had some of their independent releases and stuff. So I was able to kind of dig into those. But yeah, like I mean, those journeys are like you said, just pops in your head like, this is what I'm into. This is what I like.
Yeah, like what? Yeah, like I'm 14 years old and I'm like, oh my God, now I have to save up. Like these CDs are $20 a piece and you're telling me I got to buy like 15 of them? Okay, well, here we go. Yeah. Guess what, Shawn? I bought all 15 of them. I have every single Ozzy album on CD, and I think I have I think I have the albums he did with Sabbath on CD as well.
Yeah, like kids don't know how easy they have it. Like if you get into Ozzy, it's like, I got to listen to all of his albums. Oh man, 600 hours on Spotify.
Yeah.
All right, like, here goes.
I spent $400 buying his music at Sam Goody.
Yeah, no shit.
I mean, how much? How deep do you want me to go on Ozzy? Born December 3rd, if that means anything. He was born on December 3rd. Toured with Black Sabbath. Black Sabbath was formerly a band called Earth, and then
bit the head off of a bat
and a dove.
Is that actually confirmed? I thought that was one of those.
Yes.
Okay.
There's no the dove thing. The dove thing 100% happened. There's photographic evidence. The bat thing is more of it happened at a concert, and he says it happened. He says he thought it was a toy bat because somebody threw the bat on stage and it was dead. So somebody had thrown the bat on stage. He thought it was like a rubber bat toy. And so he picked it up and then immediately stuck it in his mouth like a toddler. And it was a real bat.
Yeah.
And so had to get the rabies shot and all that good stuff. I mean, his drinking / drug abuse stories are, the stuff of legend.
Well, the new song,
myth, even.
Yeah, the new song that he just put out where it's kind of him and Sharon getting together. Like that video is super emotional.
Yes. And like you just said, that video he just put out, like, how the fuck is this? Number one, how is this fucker still alive? And number two, how is this fucker still making music? But he is.
Yeah.
And he's still fantastic.
Yeah. I mean, that's somebody.
And he spawned some of the the greats of.
Oh yeah.
Inspired so many people to make music. He's had people in his band that have gone on to make great music.
Got a great festival.
Zach Wilde is probably the first example that comes to mind.
Yeah, he's got a big festival. This guy's name on Ozfest.
Yeah,
which
Ozfest.
Fun story about Papa Roach to tie it back to that. When they were invited on after they got big in 2001.
Yeah,
Jacoby Shaddix was pissed because everybody'd sit in the front seat, arms crossed, not rocking out. So we want Ozzy. So Jacoby pooped on stage and threw it in the audience, and they were never invited back again.
Aw, that's too bad. I mean, I don't know how much can you say about Ozzy Osbourne? I mean, he's Ozzy.
Well, that's
just
like you said,
leave it there.
How's he still alive? Like back when that show was on in 02, 03, everybody's like, he's not going to make it very long. Still alive, doing well.
I felt like, the show, it's always like, oh, look at, puttering old Ozzy. What people didn't know is that he fucking relapsed during that show.
Oh, really? I guess I didn't know.
He was drinking again during that show.
He probably had to get through it.
Fucking crazy, man.
That show, I think, probably saved that family, but probably in the same instance kind of hurt them. They all came out on the other end, I think, really well.
Yeah. Well, and I think it had luckily for that show, it was one of the first reality shows.
Yeah, one based off of a family.
And so it reality television, when it first started out, it was a lot of well, let's just film stuff. Let's just put cameras on stuff and film stuff. Reality TV now is much more it's created, simulated reality.
Yes, yeah.
Things are kind of things and situations are kind of forced in and wedged in.
Yeah. We're going to give you this situation. Now react to it.
Yeah.
And
exactly.
use this punchline.
Yeah. In the case of the Osbournes, I feel like if they would have tried to do an Osbournes reality show now, deliberately injecting drama into that situation, into that family dynamic, I think would have caused so much irreparable harm.
Oh yeah. It wouldn't have been a good show.
Exactly. Whereas, and not just it wouldn't be a good show, but they would have fucking blown that family apart.
Yeah.
Which, when the Osbournes originally came out, it was just hey, let's just put cameras on them and just watch them talk, And so it was, even though it was reality TV, it was less invasive on the family.
Yeah, I agree with that. But yeah, Ozzy Osbourne's a good pick. That's one of those too, same thing. I know some of the songs, but just diving into it's just got to saddle up for a weekend and jump into it.
Yeah, it's a deep bench there, bud.
Yeah, and with most of my picks, and my last pick is kind of the same thing. I feel better if I discover it or if it's at least new when I find it, because I feel like it's kind of untapped goods. Like if I start listening to Ozzy Osbourne, he becomes my favorite like band or favorite artist. I mean, I didn't find it. Like I kind of just.
So what? Shawn, you're in your 30s. Just like what you like.
No, it's not why I don't listen to it, but it's definitely something more of it. There is a differentness to it. It's kind of like you've kind of jumped on the wagon later, which isn't a bad thing.
There's no wagon. Just listen to me. Just listen to it. Just listen to music and just like what you like.
Well, and to be fair, all the bands that you've mentioned, I've listened to some.
Yeah.
I think all of mine you've probably haven't listened to much at all.
I would say I've listened to at least one song.
Yeah.
From every band you've mentioned, I think.
Yeah, probably all but maybe Biffy and Flyleaf.
No, because you deliberately.
Oh, have I?
You were like, listen to this, this, and this.
And that's always tough too, because when you do that, people are like, okay.
That's one that you did push on me, and I listened to it and I liked it, but out of all of those, I will say that's the only one that you've done that with, but
my seventh round pick was one that I kind of discovered. I didn't discover, but was one that like once they kind of came on the scene, I kind of fell into them. They are definitely more of they're not a fan friendly band. Like they're not, okay. I feel like they're doing this for themselves, not so much the fans. They're kind of, I've heard a lot of people consider them kind of the last studio rock band. Because they still put out albums every couple of years that are really pushed by studios. But I've seen them live once. It was a good show. Not much fan interaction, but they put on a good show. And it's the band Seether.
Okay.
Their newest.
Yeah, I kind of get what you're saying. Where it feels very. It feels very studio friendly.
Yeah, it's the
record label friendly.
Yeah, like they've got a big deal. They put it out every couple of years. They tour. It's like one of those, like the record labels like, oh, we'll keep these guys around because now we have a rock band on our label. But it seems like as their last like 2 or 3 albums have been a little bit more darker and a little bit more or less like they've been able to create their own thing, which I really enjoy. I've played a couple of their newest songs for my son, and he really digs it, which is kind of cool.
Nice.
But yeah, it's one of those bands like they've got an acoustic. It's like one night in somewhere. Where is it?
The one night in Bangkok?
No, One Cold Night.
Okay.
Where it's a live acoustic album. So good.
Nice.
Like another one of those, like when I was, a little bit down in the dumps, I'd play that on my drive back to Quincy. Which was horrible because it's like maybe I should just drive off into the woods and put a hose in my car. But yeah, my 7th round pick, Richard. I want to go with one of my favorite bands still rocking out, Seether.
Oh, so good. All right, bands that I feel like I need to mention because apparently I listen to a lot of it. Typo Negative. Typo Negative is on here. Really, really good band. Ninja Sex Party.
I don't know if I've listened to that one.
They do original music, but a lot of the songs that I listen to are covers that they've done, like covers of other stuff. Childish Gambino. I really like Childish Gambino.
I've listened to a couple of them. Yeah.
Very, very good. Childish Gambino. Who else do I have on here? Muddy Waters. Soundgarden. Gotta put in Soundgarden. Good old Chris Cornell. Let's see. I got Weezer. Dolly Parton. Who doesn't love Dolly Parton?
Yeah.
Oh, working 9 to 5.
I'm surprised you didn't have her on there.
You know what? It was. Which one would I have bumped off?
That's tough
for Dolly Parton.
Maybe The Who.
Yeah, maybe. I think if I bumped anybody off, it'd probably be that one. Yeah. What were some of yours?
So I had not the new incarnation of it, but the early incarnation, 3 Days Grace.
Okay.
The lead singer's in a new band called Saint Ansania, which is really good. Chevelle's a band that I always fall back into. I really dug their first album. and stopped
Yeah.
listening to them. But Sci-Fi Crimes, that was like their 4th or 5th album. Front to back is really good.
Okay.
This band I think would have been huge if their lead singer didn't pass away during their first like tour on their first album, Drowning Pool.
Yeah.
Not a drug or alcohol thing. He had like some kind of weird genetic enlarged heart type thing.
Yeah.
Super sad.
Yeah. That's
Like,
why I remember it was a heart song.
because that
a
was
heart problem.
that was probably like one of the first like 5 bands that like I really got behind and just really enjoyed it. And then that happened, and there are other stuff.
I could see them having a much bigger career.
Yeah, they kind of went going still with a new lead singer, but it's is what it is. Same thing. First album I really liked, Linkin Park. I'll pop that in every now and then. I'm a huge Corey Taylor fan, so Stone Sour, Slipknot, his original stuff is pretty decent. These other 2 bands they were kind of not like big, but they kind of like put their foot in the water a little bit, but fell off. One's Taproot.
Oh yeah,
and
that one's kind of they've been around since the 90s, right?
Yeah, they've kind of like fallen in and out. Like they kind of stopped for like 5 or 6 years. I think they're trying to make a comeback now.
Okay.
And this other band I saw play with 10 Years, and I kind of put them in here more for the story. So this was a band that I never heard of, and when I went and listened to them, I really liked them. But you could tell that like the band was like starting to break apart. The lead singer was just like was not feeling the crowd. It was like kind of towards the end of this tour, and about halfway through their set, he basically starts calling the crowd out, saying like, "This is the worst crowd that we've had on this whole tour."
Oh my!
And he basically threw like a beer into the crowd. And then at some point, I don't know if somebody asked if he read or something. He's like, "I read books. I read." And we're like, "Oh my God, like this dude's being super aggressive. I feel uncomfortable."
Jesus.
And then they played their song that everybody knows, and some people kind of started singing to. He's like, "Oh yeah, of course, you know this one."
Oh my.
Shortly after, and so I went back and listened to their 2 albums, and the band's called Fair to Midland, and they're from Texas. And I went back and listened to their 2 albums. They're really fucking good.
Oh, okay.
Like I'll listen to them when I work out, or like they just got a great like original sound to them, but they just never kind of got any traction. Lead singer ends up
great. Now after telling the story, now we're gonna get an angry fucking email.
Well, I don't know about that, but 'cause I'm pretty sure the lead singer went missing. I don't know if they've ever found him.
He went missing.
Yeah, like
oh wow,
about a year after the show, they basically were like, "Yeah, we're taking a break." Like, I think some of their stuff might have got stolen, and they just like were having trouble with money.
It was you, Shawn. You did it.
I must. Well, like I was like. Because
he was pointing at you, and he was like, "Oh yeah, you know this one," and you're like, "This motherfucker."
Yeah. Oh my God. But yeah, it was kind of like I felt bad, but like I really felt like I saw like the unfolding of a band that like essentially just discovered like, yeah, we can't make it. Like saw all their dreams crushed from a tour in one night.
That sucks.
Yeah. And it sucked too because I went back and listened to them. Like these albums are really good, but they were kind of aggressive. It made me kind of concerned. But the bassist, I think from Fair to Midland, ended up playing with 10 Years for a bit when they were kind of doing some changes. So I think he's still with the band.
So there's a happy ending.
There is a happy ending, yes,
ish,
but
of sorts.
But all right, well, let me run through these picks real quick. So, Richard, for your first round pick, you have The Who, H-U. Second round pick, Weezer. Third round pick, Foo Fighters. Fourth round pick, Frank Sinatra. Fifth round pick, Stevie Nicks. Sixth round pick, Prince. And seventh round money shot pick, the one and only Ozzy Osbourne. For me, for my first round pick, I have Papa Roach. Second round pick, Biffy Clyro. Mon the Biff. Third round pick, 10 Years. Fourth round pick, Smile Empty Soul. Fifth round pick, Alice in Chains. Sixth round pick, Flyleaf. Still looking deep into those eyes. And seventh round money shot pick, Seether. Song is about have you ever heard the song Seether? Seether is neither.
Yeah, Veruca Salt.
Yeah, that's what their band came from. Their band name.
Really?
Yeah.
You know what? I always wondered that.
I
wondered. I was like, did one make did one spawn the other?
Yeah, they actually did a cover of that song on their like greatest hits album. It's pretty good. They did a cover of Never Gonna Dance Again too.
Oh, I've heard that.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Careless Whisper.
Yeah. But Richard, as we're closing up this draft full of amazing music, why don't you give me some Richard's closing thoughts?
Don't yuck somebody's yum, and like what you like, and expand your horizons. Listen to other stuff. Listen to other stuff. Listen to the stuff you like, and then find out what they like. Like, find out what turned them on, and then go listen to that. Like, that's definitely big.
It's one of the best things about Spotify. So it's like other people like. You're like, I'll like that. Okay, yep, that's my band. All right.
Yeah. Well, not even that. Like, just like listen to an interview where somebody, where they say like, "Oh, what got you into music?" And they'll say, like, "Oh my God, the first time I heard X band," and then you go, "Oh, okay." There's a band apparently that secretly everybody loves, but they've never gotten very big, called King's X.
Oh yeah, you mentioned that during our interview with Preston.
Yeah, like everybody loves King's X, but they're not that popular a band. It's like a band that musicians like. But again, listen and find out what the people you like, and then go listen to that. Just listen to more music, because all it can do is be good for your soul.
Yeah, after you listen to podcasts.
Yes. Definitely.
All right. Well, let me do a little bit of housekeeping before we get last call and get kicked out of this rock club. Visit our website, we're languageofbromance.com. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at languageofbro. Email us at bros@languageofbromance.com. And we always want to be our bassist and our drummer for our rock band, Richard, if we had one. Aaron is actually in a rock band. So we're going to always want to thank our patrons, Wendy and Aaron.
Is he a drummer?
I think he plays guitar and bass.
Oh,
I think he
God.
sings too.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
If he sings, then I have no job.
Well, I don't either. Because I don't think they want an alto saxophone player who hasn't played in like 20 years.
Maybe they do. You don't know. You know what? I bet you play a mean tambourine. I bet you could fucking jam a tambourine like nobody's business.
I could probably rock a cowbell.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Richard, is there anything else before I close her out?
No, I'm good, sir.
All right. Well, that's all the rock bromance we have for this show. I'm Shawn.
And I'm Richard.
And remember, don't be a why. Be a why.
A why not?
Richard, let me see your bull horns.
No, it's the devil's horns.
It's bull horns.
Bull horns. You're so straight edge. It's so cute.